And then in 1963, my father passed away. And those times were pretty hard for us because we'd never experienced anyone in the family except my grandmother, his mother, years before then in 1945. But anyhow, we didn't know anything about making arrangements for this and that. So the guy that owned the funeral home, Paul Merritt, wonderful, outstanding individual, he came to us and he talked to Mom and us, and we talked about the arrangements and everything. Of course, we didn't have a lot of money, and the funeral wasn't real exclusive. We had the cheapest that we could find, as far as our money would go. And Paul Merritt, my daddy was such a well-loved fellow there in Chelsea that Paul told my mom, and she said, Georgie, she said, the funeral home chapel is not large enough to hold the people that would probably be there. Because my dad was well known all over, all around Bonita, North Border, all the surrounding towns. Because what he used to do, he used to call a lot of square dances whenever they used to happen, and everybody knew it. But as I told him, Paul told us that I can make arrangements. So he got his church. I never will forget it. First Christian Church. It's right there on Olive Street, right across from where his funeral home was in Chelsea. It was the First Christian Church. And Reverend Harding was the pastor at that church. And he was the one that delivered the Jews. And what's so touching is all of the people that we knew in Chelsea, the ladies at the church, they did everything. They did the booklets, they did the food, they just took care of everything for us. And we were so appreciative of those people. And one of the guys that was instrumental in helping was, used to be county commissioner here, Avery Dye. He was an awful, wonderful fellow. He was one of the guys that helped support us. He would bring us back. He would raise big gardens. We would work in his garden, but he gave us all kinds of vegetables. And when he'd butcher a cow, he'd give us some meat. He'd go fishing, and he'd bring us some fish. Of course, we sang what we did. We'd go in the creeks down there, and they used minnows and crawdads to fish at that time. We didn't. We just used worms and fat meat and whatever we could get when we went fishing. But those guys used crawdads and minnows to catch bass, and that's what they caught. And I'll tell you what, Avery Dye used to bring us some big bass, and boy, that's our first chance of tasting the good fish. Those were good fish. All we used to catch was those perch and little mudcat, bullhead catfish. That's what we called them in those creeks and that. We didn't catch any bass, but he would bring us those. And Clem and Donna McSpadden, they were all people there at Chelsea. That's why I'm so proud of Chelsea. Wonderful people there, wonderful people. And I know a lot more there. And the thing about it is, I know that in those days there were differences in people, but those people that I'm talking about didn't make a difference. It wasn't a difference and that's why I appreciate it there. And in Chelsea, there never was any incidents, racial or this and that. But of course, back in those days, there's always going to be some guys. There's always going to be some guys that stand out more than others for smart addicts. But there was one guy that used to always give us a hard time. And he would, a lot of times, we'd go uptown on the street and everybody would hang out in front of the Ed South Cafe. He made those greasy hamburgers better than anybody in the world. But we'd go up there at the cafe and hang out in front of the cafe. And this one kid, he was mouthy, and he had his girlfriend with him all the time, and he was popping off and showing off, and calling us names and so forth. So we invited him out behind that cafe, and we took a toll on him. We never did have any more problem with that guy. we took care of him pretty good. So, but anyhow, that's some of the things, a few things which I could go on and on about Chelsea, but I won't.